Hey guys, so my name is Sterling from Stacked Digital. I am the creator of Launch Perfect. It is the proven system for entrepreneurs looking to grow their business in easy, lucrative ways using fun 5-day challenges. For all things 5 Challenge related, please hit the subscribe and like button. We are constantly cranking out new content that's going to help you really make an impact with your 5-day challenge. In this little tutorial here, you will learn how to strategically name your 5-day challenge. But first, before I dive into the tutorial, I want to quickly explain why it is important to get the name right so that it speaks specifically to your ideal prospect and the results that they're wanting to learn how to get. Right? So the main thing I see people doing wrong when naming their challenge is naming it something that I'm going to call, quote unquote, being too insider. You have to remember that the people that you are reaching out to, in most cases, very rarely is this not true, you are trying to tell them, you want to put the name of your challenge in almost ways that a fifth grader could understand. Sometimes I see people, like I have a client, she teaches dressage, like horse riding. It's a specific kind of equestrian horseback riding called dressage. And she was putting together something, and we kept going over names, and I kept saying to her, her name's Shanna, will people who do not, will everybody that you're trying to attract into this challenge understand what timing of the aids is? TOTA, she called it TOTA, timing of the aids, and she said no. I said, well, that's not a good title for your challenge because people won't understand it. You do not want people to have to think at all about why the heck they're going to enter into your 5-day challenge. So that's the number one problem that I see. The other thing is that they try to get, I guess it's sort of along the same lines. They try to get fancy with the name. You don't want fancy. You just want people to know, reading a few words as best they can, you want people to know what they're going to get out of the challenge, what I like to call the big promise. Like, what's the promise of the challenge? And how can we make it as succinct as possible? So if I'm scrolling through the Facebook newsfeed or you post on your Facebook page, I don't have to think and I have to go, oh, Sean is going to teach me a new kind of dressage, the new dressage 5-day challenge, rather than the timing of the AIDS 5-day challenge. Just a super basic example of why you wouldn't use something like TOTA or timing of the aids. All right, we're going to get into this in a worksheet in a minute. So the benefit of having a correctly named challenge are people don't have to think. When you're competing for all that attention in the newsfeed, you want people to see the title of your challenge and go, yes, that's for me, or no, that's not for me. If you create indecision, they just keep scrolling past. If they have to think, they just keep scrolling past. And then if we talk about calling out, which again I'll talk about in the worksheet, if we're calling out your ideal prospect, that's a way for them to self-identify. That's going to be really helpful. And then you also want to name it. So again, this goes along with the big promise. So if the promise of your challenge is X and you're the one presenting your challenge, there's automatically going to be some authority built there when they enter into your challenge. So clarity is key. And if people know what to expect in the challenge, that's also going to result in higher conversions, because if they get into a challenge where they're like, well, I like horseback riding, what's TOTA? And then they sign up for your challenge, you paid money for them to register, they get in there, and then day 1 or day 2, they're like, I don't do dressage, or what is timing of the aids, or any of that sort of thing. So brevity, clarity, specificity, big promise. All right, so let me explain how to name your challenge in the best way possible by working on the worksheet. So let's cut to that right now. All right, guys, we're into the worksheet for how to name your 5-day challenge. You should see a link below in the description if you want to download this worksheet. It'll help you get real clarity around naming your 5-day challenge. So for those of you that don't know, we're using this example. This is not a real offer, but I've used it in a number of videos, and we're gonna continue on with it here. So it's the Luxury Photography Studio. It's an 8-week program. It costs $2,500. Now, I want to talk about the difference between the promise here for your 5-day challenge uh, as opposed to this big promise is the promise of the 8-week program. So at the end of these 8 weeks, you'll have everything you need to build a thriving photography business that charges a minimum of $3K per shoot. Okay? And then if we go into, these are the 8 modules, fictitious modules, then I built out the 4 days of challenge content for this fictitious offer. And so each day, each topic should clearly lay out a promise for that day. So this is the promise of the 8 weeks. This is the promise of day 1. I promise everything you need to embody being a high price. I promise to provide you everything you need to embody being a high-priced photographer. Day 2, I promise to help you create a luxury portfolio from the photos you already have. Day 3, I promise to show you how to get your first high-end paying photography client. In this case, it's with a simple Facebook post. And then day 4, I'm going to show you how to turn 1 client into 4. That's the big promise for day 4. So now we want to frame what we believe the promise should be of this 5-day challenge. And then there's going to be an action word associated with that. There's a timeline generally associated with that, and then we call out the dream prospect. So the very first thing I want to do is just write down real quick, what's my dream prospect? In this case, the more the more specific, the better. So I'm probably talking about newer pro photographers or photographers just getting started, possibly amateurs looking to charge for their services. But with this, because we're talking about taking your existing photography to a luxury brand, you probably want to have a small photog business already in place, and you are constantly feeling the need to compete over price. Okay, so another example could be a completely different offer would be moms with kids. You might want to include that in your challenge if your challenge serves those people. It could be coaches, it could be course creators, it could be dentists. It depends on what your challenge is. So we just start brainstorming this out, and then if I'm probably going to dial in, it's probably going to be small photography business already in place. So I'm probably going to even call it Pro Photogs in this case. So we can possibly come back to this as we refine things. So the promise of this challenge is kind of laid out in day 3. If you go back here, how to get your first high-end paying photography client, right? So what if we could make the promise of this challenge how to book your first, I'm just going to write that down. Book your first high-paying client, photography client. That's pretty good. Or let's just say, what if we say even 3K client? That's a pretty strong promise. It's pretty good. I like it a lot. Action words are generally positive, forward momentum words, because when we're trying to come up with a challenge name, we want it to be short, succinct, tight, so that if somebody's scrolling, they see a video or a photo, and then they look underneath it, that's the headline. It needs to fit on the Facebook page, so it needs to be short, direct, who you're talking to, what the timeline is, and positive action. So this could easily be book. This could be secure is not as strong, but we're just brainstorming here. Book, secure, accelerate is always a good one. What else? Book, secure, accelerate, grow. Grow is a good one. I think those are all going to suffice for us. The timeline, generally, if it's something we can fit in 5 days, that's fantastic. So this might, I mean, this is obviously a 5-day challenge. So that's going to be the timeline. For almost all 5-day challenges, you don't necessarily have to put your timeline into the title, but it's good to frame things that way if you can. So I might say the name of the challenge, it could simply be book your first Lux client in 5 days. You could make it. Have to be careful with Facebook compliant. Book your first. I don't think we can say this. I'm just putting it down for brainstorming. 3K client. 3K client in 5 days. This is what's considered, if you're advertising, you could do this if you weren't advertising on Facebook, if you're just doing an organic launch. This would actually be a really strong challenge name. When you do Facebook ads, you just want to be careful because this implies a guarantee that at the end of 5 days, they're going to book their first 3K client. So whenever you're talking about specific money numbers in Facebook, you just have to be really, really careful. So all those things said, and by the way, the dream prospect, although not called out directly here, is called out strong enough indirectly. Book your first photography client. So you have to be in a place where you're taking clients as a photographer or want to take clients. So I feel like that's fine. The 5-day timeline is in there. That's fine too. Book a client is a pretty strong action word. And it's a pretty strong promise. So if I was working with a client and this was their offer and we were putting together the name of their challenge, and obviously this promise has to be true, guys. We're not just creating the name to be catchy. Like at the end of the challenge, they have to be able to do that thing. And as we showed before, this particular fictitious thing here gives a Facebook post template that got her first 3 clients. Oh, first 3 clients. Interesting. All right. So maybe we could even do book 3. That's even stronger. I like that. Book 3 luxury photography clients in 5 days. That's an amazing challenge name right there, guys. See? It is strong. It contains the promise. It contains the promise of the challenge. It's got a strong action word, book. It's got the timeline in there. And it's got the clearly implicated newer pro photographers or people that want to get clients. So this would be a heck of a challenge. I'm not a photographer in any way, shape, or form. So if I had a photography client, I could probably build them an unbelievable kick-butt 5-day challenge just based on this promise alone. So I hope that helps you. If you want more information about this proven system called Launch Perfect, it's a system. It is a process. It is not a course or a program. It's got everything you need to create an unbelievably high converting and highly lucrative 5-day challenge. There's a link below where you can go read more about that. There's a link below where you can where you can download this workbook. There's also a link. There should be multiple links for resources that we use. But the name of your challenge is super important. So I hope you learned not just the basics, but everything you need to really nail your 5-day challenge title. All right, thank you so much. Have a great day. And leave comments below. We try to answer all of them, and they also give us ideas for new videos. So I appreciate you, and have a great day.